before I go into the presentation, can I know how many of you here are beginners or have not worked with logging before? Okay, I see some hands. Okay. So today we are going to see three segments in the presentations today. So we'll be talking about what logging is actually and why we would require logging in the first place. The next thing is how to use Google's cloud logging solution and also set up monitoring for your applications. And finally, we'll be seeing certain best practices when it comes to cloud logging in Google Cloud. Okay, so what is cloud logging? Can anybody answer it for me? Okay. So Google Cloud logging is a solution offered by Google Cloud, but logging in a sense itself, we need to understand why we need logging for your applications or any projects that you build. Even when you start small, you could also incorporate logging at the early stages itself so that it will be structured and you would not be leaving any issues unnoticed for a longer period. And also, if there are any issues that are coming up in the future for your applications, it will be easy for you to debug. So that's the reason why we use cloud logging basically. So users help you understand your systems better. So you would have built certain things in your project or in your product that you're building right now, but you would not have covered a lot of edge cases or a lot of scenarios before you push your code actually into production or invite users to test your application. So when the users start to use your application, you get to know a lot of issues by coming along that way, and you need to be in a better position to analyze all those issues, and you should not say that let me give you a scenario actually. Think this is Flipkart's basic architecture of your Flipkart application. So there are a lot of users. There's a mobile app here, and there are back-end operations that are happening via the Flipkart app via APIs, right? So the users are using the application and they're doing something. They're trying to log in. They're trying to purchase something. They're trying to add something to their wish list, or they're trying to pay for their purchase. So these are all various back-end operations that are happening right now. And say the first operation is like adding a product to the cart. So it works flawlessly, it works instantly, there's no issues at all, the user is feeling really great. And say in the second operation there is a problem. Say when they're trying to add their address for their order, it is failing. And finally, suddenly it worked, and say that again something failed. So they're trying to place the order right now, they're trying to make the payment, but due to some issues, the payment is not going through or the order is not getting placed at all. So the user is really frustrated here, and he's trying to report he's trying to report something that is wrong with your application. So imagine there is no logging that has been implemented in Flipkart's backend code. So what would happen right?
Lot of logs, failure logs.
Yeah, so basically the backend team would not know what has happened at all. So unless there are certain, standard observability practices followed and logging is implemented in their code, they would not know what is happening in the backend. So the solution is simple. So how do you fix the solution? Fix the problem.
Investigation and logs.
Yeah, that's right. So this is where Google's cloud logging will be helping you in the process. So basically, whatever operations that the application is trying to do, it is contacting via APIs. And these APIs must have proper logging implemented for all their APIs or all their workflows or all their back and batch processing or whatever it might be, right? So there needs to be a standard process and standard logging mechanism set up. So this is where we'll be using Google's cloud logging solution. So this comes to the second part of the presentation, to setting up set up the Google Cloud Logging solution actually. So to understand more about this, firstly, what you could do is you could just go to console.cloud.google.com/logs, and it will give you a better overview of what is the solution that is offered by Google Cloud, what is the recent advancements that they have made in the observability section, and what are all the other APIs or what are all the SDKs that are being offered by Google, so that you could incorporate in your own applications, right? So you could visit this link and you could get to know more about it. So using is actually very simple. So Google offers SDKs for almost all the popular programming languages, right? So all that you need to do is you just need to download the SDK or download the library. Just need to import it to your application. In this case, this is JavaScript or TypeScript. You just need to import logging, and you just need to authenticate with your GCP account or the GCP project. And all that you need to do in the next step is, okay, so this is the boilerplate code that we could use to log certain information into Google Cloud. Let me walk you through about what are all these parameters in detail right now. So the thing is, every resource type would be global for Google Cloud Logging. That is almost starting. Second thing is labels. So whenever you want to log something, you could either log something like, okay, this is a log, this is an error, or whatever it is. But it must be a good practice to add labels to your logs. Like, say I'm logging something from a order placement API. So you could say that the labels would be like the API name, from where it is called, the file name where it is called from. So you could add any number of labels that you think that are apt for your application here. And you could also log the user ID. Like, if I'm trying to place an order via Flipkart app, the backend would always know that who's the person that is trying to access the API, right? So you could also log the user ID, whatever you need, you could log in the labels. And severity would be error, info. Based on the severity of the logs, you could add the severity. I will talk about severity in detail in the best practices section. And finally, this is the main part. This is the data that you want to log. And this data can be either a string or it could also be a JSON. Again. So just focus about these two things right now. So one is severity and the other one is the data that you need to log. So here what we are doing is we are just logging, saying that this is sample info and it is a string. So this perfectly works. You could also do this. Error would perfectly work. And finally, you could also do this. If you have a specific requirement saying that I need to log certain JSON data into my logging platform and just not the strings, you could also do that. For example, people might try to log stack traces as well along with their logs, right? So you could perfectly do that as well. So here it accepts a string or it accepts a JSON. So here you could, just like how we talked with labels, you could add any number of labels here. And the best part is this thing. So when you are configuring the log object here, so there is a parameter called as remove circular. So when you give remove circular as true, even though your JSON has a lot of objects in it, or it could not be, you would have observed certain data like it's a circular JSON and you could not parse it, right? So during those kind of scenarios, you could just actually use remove circular as true, and it would automatically remove any circular dependency that is in the JSON object that you're trying to log. So this is how you could actually use the client libraries and log into Google Cloud. I thought that we could give a presentation demo here. I think we are just trying to make it work for us. Basically the data, the log data is in GCP, but you could use it in any projects, right? Does not does not restrict you that you can only log using your GCP resources. So basically, all that you need is to authenticate the library level. So here, you just pass your service account project ID, client email, and private key, and this would authenticate the library. Okay. Yes, absolutely you can. So here in this example, basically even I think Google has client libraries for Java as well. So all that you need to do is similar to how we did it in TypeScript right now. We need to import the library and you need to authenticate, or you could also set up a common file where you can use for logging across various files, right? So you could just set up that file, you could just import it and try to log. And what happens behind the scenes is that even though we are using a library, it's going to be a REST API endpoint, right? So even the library is going to use an API endpoint behind the scenes, and it's going to call Google's REST API endpoint and do the logging. So similarly, that's how it will be done in Java.
Can we look for based on
I'm not sure whether there's a provision here to support Log4j. I should check whether Google Cloud is given as the platform that you can add.
I've seen this kind of they instead of logging inside the cloud, they want to log those cloud logs to open source database. That was like just one so because they were saying it's already in the cloud, but they want to maintain logs inside the cloud. Personally, I've seen, but that is not for Google Cloud, but that is for different cloud. In the same way, there are some APIs or services which are inside the GCP, you can log those
So I think this question is like, can we write logs to another different database rather than just viewing this in a client UI, GCP UI or with the storage, right? So what you can do is all these logs can be written automatically to a storage bucket. And this storage bucket will contain all the basically all the logs that you do across various applications. And you could write a stream where you could actually read the data from Google storage and then move it to any database that you do.
So these inside object storage, so these are directly accessible by the user, or it has to be gone through like this. I want to read those logs. So these I can export, I can directly read, and I can directly those files, or it should be readable through the console.
I think it would not be basic text files that are stored in the Google Cloud storage, but I think it will be on a JSON structure which is written based on the timestamps. So basically, it would have they would have a storage capacity like 2 MB per file or something. So once it is done, it would again start a new file and start writing the objects in the storage bucket. So basically, you need to read those and then write your own logic to move to a separate database or whatever. Good. Okay, while this is getting started, let's try to see the best practices as well. So I have a few best practices that you could actually follow when you're trying to implement cloud logging for your applications. And the first thing is error monitoring. So Google offers logging solutions and also monitoring solutions. Here you could actually monitor, based on various patterns. Like say, I'm trying to log errors. My application is trying to log errors on a particular label. I could set up monitoring saying that if the number of logs, if the number of error logs for a particular application label has crossed 5 per minute, automatically trigger me an email or trigger me an SMS. It also has webhooks, Slack endpoints. So you could configure monitoring and you could just easily detect whether there are any problems with your application. So logging is just one part. It will not, tell the backend engineers or front-end engineers saying that these are the errors that are happening. Unless you want to go out and explore what's happening, it is not going to be very useful, right? So you need to be proactive in fixing those issues. Say if Flipkart is facing outages, and it should not be like users are reporting those issues to you. You should proactively identify these are the issues that our users are facing, and you need to go out and fix them, right? So what you could do is you could set up monitoring for your log applications, and it would automatically trigger you on the platform or on the on however mechanism that you need. Say you have a Slack channel, you could automatically look at the Google Cloud monitoring what is your Slack channel, and it would give you instant alerts in your Slack channel itself. Or if you use any other chat solution for your team, there are webhooks. You could just configure a webhook endpoint for your channel in Discord or whatever it is, and then you could ask Google Cloud to automatically push the messages to that website. And the next thing is, as we talked earlier, it's better to use labels because of two reasons, I would say. One is easy readability. So whenever you want to explore something, or if you are reading a log message, it will be easy for you to interpret what this log message is actually about, and from where it is triggered, or what are the parameters that you need. So it will be easy for you to understand that. And the next thing is, in the future, if you want to, query the logs, right? If you are just going to query the logs based on the data that is on the string or the JSON data that you have uploaded, it is going to be very difficult. What you could do is, say my application is trying to log the user ID of the users when it is trying to log, right? Say you want to filter the logs only for a particular user. So here you could easily do it like whatever the label key you are using. In this case it is UID. You could just use labels.uid and the application, the user ID, and the console would automatically show all the logs for the particular user. And this is just a simple use case that I gave right now, but there are unlimited use cases, and the queries could also be faster than querying all the data. And you need to use proper severity labels. So Google Cloud offers, I think there are 9, right? So there are 9 keywords that you could actually use. And the most popular ones would be like error, info, debug. These are the most, 3 importantly used keywords, I guess. But it's not that you should not use critical or alert. It's up to you. No one is going to give you the rule saying that you should use alert only for this. But based on the logic or based on the needs that your application has, you could configure different severity levels. And coming to this, so Google Cloud logging does not give you unlimited number of days for the logs to be persisted. I think the default would be around 365, I guess. But if you want to store your logs for a longer time duration, you could actually use Google storage buckets to store those logs, and you could store up to 10 years of data with GCS. So basically, you need to configure the retention period for your bucket. I could configure up to 3650, that is 10 years of data, and it could always, and the logs would be automatically pushed to that bucket so that you could view in the future, or as we asked, you could actually export the data to another database or wherever you need to process or store the data. So this brings to the end of the presentation.